There is a moment in every life, quiet and unannounced, when something within whispers a sacred truth, not loudly but surely. It says, "You are more than what the world has told you. You are carrying a secret power the universe placed within you. And if you are still, if you are bold enough to believe, that whisper becomes a roar. You must begin to act as if the universe, in all its infinite intelligence and unmeasurable grace, has chosen you for something extraordinary, not in arrogance but in certainty, not to dominate but to become. And the only proof required is how you carry yourself from this moment forward. The posture of your soul will tell the story. What if everything you ever wanted, love, success, healing, confidence, clarity, peace, what if all of it was already coded within you, waiting for your permission to awaken? What if the delay was not in time, but in belief? What if the secret wasn't to do more, chase more, beg more, but to act as if you already have access to it? Imagine walking into a room and knowing the energy bends to your state of being, not because you are louder, but because your inner world commands the outer. The universe doesn't respond to need, it responds to certainty. So when you begin to act as if you possess the secret power, when your steps reflect purpose, when your speech reflects confidence, when your energy reflects wholeness, the world shifts to meet you. You were not born to be a beggar of destiny. You were born to be a co-creator with it. You were born to assume the power the universe secretly placed in you. This power is not external. It is not in the opinions of others, nor in circumstances. It is not in credentials, applause, or even opportunity. This power was breathed into you the moment you dared to imagine yourself becoming more. This is why you must act, not react. You must carry yourself with the knowledge that the invisible is shaping the visible through the force of your assumption. And when you assume this secret power is yours, when you walk in it, speak from it, breathe through it, the things you desire no longer remain distant. They begin to orbit your world like planets drawn to gravity. You are not here to wait for proof, you are here to be the proof. If you want love, act as if you're already loving and loved. If you want wealth, act as if abundance flows through your every move. If you seek peace, act as if your soul is already still. That is the secret power, to live from the end, from the reality not yet seen, but deeply felt. And what happens next is not magic, it's law. The seen must bow to the unseen. The conditions of your life must mirror the consciousness you hold. So if you are still waiting, perhaps it is not the world that is delayed. Perhaps it is you who is delaying the decision to act. Stop waiting to feel ready. Stop needing permission to become who you were always meant to be. Begin to live as though your thoughts matter, because they do. Begin to speak as though your words create, because they are. Begin to move as if your presence shapes reality, because it does. When you act as if the universe gave you secret power, you stop asking for signs. You become the sign. You stop needing doors to open. You become the doorway. You stop seeking validation. You become the voice of certainty others have been waiting to hear. You are not small. You are not ordinary. You are not forgotten. You are the very evidence that the universe is alive and personal and endlessly creative. And if you will only act in alignment with that truth, not someday, not tomorrow, not once you're ready, but now, the world will echo that power back to you in ways you cannot yet imagine. Act as if the secret is already yours, and the universe will reveal what it has been waiting to give you all along. There is a moment in every conscious awakening when a person realizes that their assumptions are not passive thoughts drifting in the wind, but creative forces shaping the world around them. This is the beginning of true transformation. The universe, in its infinite mystery and design, has structured existence in a way that honors what you dare to assume about yourself and your place in the world. It is not waiting for effort, nor is it moved by struggle or fear. What activates the hidden machinery behind reality is the quality of your assumption, the belief you hold, not just with your mind, but with your inner knowing, is the switch that turns possibility into form. People often wait for external evidence to validate their desires. They wait to feel rich before acting wealthy, wait to be loved before acting lovable, wait to be healed before feeling whole. But the secret power of the universe does not operate in such a linear fashion. It does not reward waiting. It rewards assuming. Your assumption is the signal. It is the declaration that says, I have received what I asked for. I am the one I once longed to become. And in that state, creation begins. This assumption is not empty fantasy. It is the deliberate choice to dwell in a version of reality that is not yet visible to others, but fully alive within you. It is a bold act of faith to walk as if the path is clear, even when your senses see obstacles. It is an act of sacred rebellion to act as if you are already chosen, favored, empowered, and destined, especially when your current world seems to say otherwise. And yet, this is precisely the secret known by those who reshape their lives. They understand that assumption is not just belief, it is embodiment. To assume is to inhabit. It is to occupy mentally and emotionally the state of being that aligns with your desire fulfilled. When you assume you are powerful, you begin to think, speak, and move differently. Not in arrogance, but in alignment. Your actions flow from the place of inner certainty, not external persuasion. And because your world is a mirror, it begins to reflect back this new version of you. The power in assumption lies in its simplicity. You do not need rituals, techniques, or long hours of work. You need only to be the person who already possesses what you seek. Ask yourself, if I truly had this power, how would I move through the world? How would I carry myself? How would I think when I woke up each morning? And then, without needing confirmation, begin to live from those answers. The moment you assume the role, the universe begins to support your performance. So many people believe their lives will change once conditions change. But conditions are not the cause, they are the result. The root lies in consciousness. Your present assumption about yourself is the seed from which your entire reality grows. Change the seed and you change the tree. Change the tree and you change the fruit. There is no other way. This is the divine law hidden in plain sight. You must understand, the universe does not require time to deliver. It requires alignment. The moment you assume the power is yours, the moment you believe it without needing proof, you create a magnetic field that draws the equivalent into your world. People, events, opportunities. These things do not come because you chase them. You may say, but I don't feel powerful. My life shows no sign of this secret force. That is where the lie lives. Feeling follows assumption, not the other way around. You must begin with the inner decision, not the external evidence. The universe does not ask you to feel powerful because you've won. It asks you to feel powerful as if you've already won. That is the test, and that is the doorway. There is something astonishing that happens when you stop treating your assumptions as guesses and start treating them as decrees. You move from wishing to creating. You stop negotiating with reality and begin shaping it. And soon, the world around you becomes unrecognizable. Not because it changed first, but because you changed your center. You turned the key inward and unlocked a dimension where all things were always possible. Every great transformation in human history began with someone who dared to assume something greater about themselves, whether it was the assumption of freedom, of healing, of destiny, or of purpose. It was the act of assuming that activated the path. Not a single one of them waited to be validated by the world. They acted as if the universe whispered to them alone, "You have power. Use it." And so must you. Your current reality is not a prison. It is a projection. It is the outer shadow of your innermost beliefs. And you, as the dreamer, have the authority to shift that dream. Do not wait to see it before you believe it. Believe it so deeply that the world has no choice but to reflect it back. That is how assumption becomes transformation. When you walk into a room and carry yourself as someone chosen by the universe, people feel it. Not because you are loud, but because your energy speaks. Not because you demand respect, but because your self-respect becomes undeniable. That energy begins within. It is born the moment you say, "This is who I am now," and mean it with every fiber of your being. No one will give you this permission. No voice from heaven will announce it. It is you who must grant it to yourself. And the moment you do, you align with forces greater than logic, greater than history, greater than circumstances. You align with the infinite. You become the embodiment of the unseen power that shapes destinies. And when you do, the world bows, not to your ego, but to your alignment, because your assumption has become your truth, and your truth has become your world. Your entire world, everything you see, touch, and experience, is nothing more than a reflection of your inner state. It is a mirror, exact and unwavering, that responds not to what you wish for, but to what you are being internally. The universe does not contradict the story you tell yourself about who you are. It does not debate with your insecurities, your doubts, or your fears. It simply reflects them. And in the same manner, when you dare to change your inner conversation, when you begin to live from the idea that you are powerful, worthy, abundant, chosen, the mirror responds again. Not slowly, not hesitantly, but with precision and obedience. People often look out into the world and complain about their conditions. They say life is unfair, the timing is wrong, the world is hard. But what they fail to realize is that life is only reflecting the exact frequency of their dominant state. If you wake up in the energy of limitation, if you go through your day in the energy of lack, if your conversations, even with yourself, revolve around what you do not have or what you are still waiting for, the world will reflect that story back to you again and again. It's not punishment, it's not cruelty, it's law. This is why change must begin from within, not from action first, but from assumption. You cannot pretend to be powerless within and expect to create powerful results. You cannot carry the energy of fear and hope for peace. The world has no choice but to mirror the state you most consistently embody. And this is the great secret many overlook. If you want a new world, you must first become a new self. To shift your outer reality, you must first shift your inner identity. And this identity is not changed by circumstances, but by consciousness. It is a choice, a decision. It is the inner knowing that you are not your past, not your environment, not your failures, not your trauma, not even your current results. You are what you believe you are. And the moment you assume a higher version of yourself, the outer world begins to reconfigure itself to match the new blueprint. It's a strange thing to realize that what you used to chase was always chasing you. It was simply waiting for you to step into the self that could receive it. Because everything you want already exists. It is already prepared, already set into motion. But it cannot reach you while you are vibrating in contradiction to it. The reality you want cannot enter into a life built upon opposing beliefs. That's why the mirror it waits for your alignment. It waits for you to decide who you are and then lives up to that image. There is no outer solution to an inner misalignment. No amount of hustle or struggle can compensate for a state of being that screams lack, fear, or desperation. You might get temporary results, but they will be fleeting. Because the true nature of the universe is to bring you what you are, not what you do. What you feel consistently, what you embody with conviction, that is the magnet, that is the invitation. You do not manifest what you want, you manifest what you are. So if your world looks dim, if your life feels like a cycle of repetition and stagnation, pause and ask yourself, not what am I doing wrong, but what am I being right now? What identity am I reinforcing every day through my thoughts, my emotions, my assumptions? Because your answer will explain your reality more than anything else. And when you begin to change that inner narrative, when you decide, even without evidence, that you are now the one who is confident, loved, abundant, secure, the world must eventually catch up. Not because you forced it, but because you no longer contradict it. You have become the version of yourself who belongs to the outcome. You are no longer outside of it, you are it. And the mirror, as it always does, shows you exactly what you believe you deserve. This is the invisible turning point of all transformation. The moment you stop reacting to the outer world and start shaping it from within. When you stop waiting and begin being. When you stop trying to fix the mirror and instead transform the face that looks into it. And as you do, the reflection softens, brightens, evolves. Not because the mirror changed, but because you did. You must become ruthless with the thoughts you entertain. You must guard your inner atmosphere as if your life depends on it, because it does. Every thought you dwell upon, every feeling you indulge, every story you rehearse is a brushstroke on the canvas of your world. If you continue painting chaos within, you cannot expect peace without. If you tell yourself stories of rejection, betrayal, failure, and fear, then do not be surprised when those things appear in your life like loyal servants answering the call. But the moment you choose to see yourself differently, to feel differently, to walk differently, even before anything outside you changes, the mirror begins to respond. The timing may vary, but the law never fails. Your inner state must eventually be expressed in your outer world. It has no other choice. And so the work is not to chase, not to beg, not to wait. The work is to become. To sit still and remember who you truly are. To align yourself with the version of you that the universe has already seen, already accepted, already loved into existence. That version exists now, not later, not after, not someday. And your job is to claim it with your entire being, until nothing in the outer world can convince you otherwise. Because when you live from that inner place, when you move as if the secret power is already active in your life, when your assumptions match your desires and your desires match your identity, the world begins to respond in ways that will seem miraculous to others, but to you, it will feel like home, because the mirror is not broken. It's perfect. It is only waiting for you to recognize your own reflection and finally see the power you were always meant to carry. To align yourself with the invisible, you must act not from what is, but from what is becoming. You must walk not according to what your eyes can see, but according to what your spirit has already accepted as true. This is where faithful action becomes the key. Not frantic action, not desperate effort, not blind reaction, but action that flows from a deep inner certainty that something greater is already at work in your favor. Faithful action is not about doing more. It is about doing differently. It is about acting from the assumption that you have already received what you asked for, even when there is no external evidence to support it. It is movement that reflects inner alignment rather than outer approval. There is a vast difference between action born from fear and action born from faith. The former is driven by lack, by anxiety, by the fear that if you do not act now, everything will fall apart. It is restless, exhausting, and hollow. But action born from faith is calm, deliberate, and powerful. It carries a different energy. It does not ask the world for permission. It does not seek signs. It creates them. Faithful action assumes the invisible is already taking shape, and every step becomes an affirmation of that belief. When you begin to act in alignment with your inner truths, when your decisions reflect not your current reality but the one you've chosen in your imagination, you begin to sync with something far more intelligent than circumstance. You enter into a rhythm, a divine current, that moves people, situations, and opportunities toward you with precision. And because your action is faithful, it opens the path for manifestation without resistance. You are no longer blocking the flow with doubt or hesitation. You are moving in agreement with the unseen. Many people delay their breakthrough because they wait to feel ready. They wait until conditions improve, until things are more stable, until someone else validates them. But the universe does not move based on your comfort. It moves based on your belief. Faithful action is a statement. I no longer need the world to tell me what's possible. I already know. It is a declaration that says, I will not wait for reality to change. I will change first. And this change begins within. Before you make a move, you must become still. You must decide who you are, and then act from that decision. Not who you were yesterday, not who the world says you are, but who you know yourself to be when you remove all fear. That version of you already lives in your imagination, and when you act from that place, you collapse the gap between the seen and the unseen. Faithful action is not loud. It is not theatrical. It does not beg for attention. It does not scream to be noticed. But it is undeniable. It carries weight. It carries power. It shifts atmospheres because it is rooted in truth. When someone acts with faith, you feel it. You may not understand it, but you sense something solid, unshakable, radiant. That is the energy of someone who has decided to live from the unseen and let the seen catch up. You must become familiar with this inner world if you want to see outer results. You must know the feeling of walking in alignment with something only you can sense. You must become comfortable being misunderstood, overlooked, or doubted. Because the faithful do not act for applause. They act because they already know. They act because the inner conviction is so real, so alive, so absolute, that it leaves no room for compromise. Every great story of transformation begins with someone who dared to move before the door was opened. They knocked before anyone invited them. They stepped out before the road was built. They prepared the space before the blessing came. This is the heart of faithful action. It says, I will build the ark even though the skies are clear. I will dig the well even though there is no sign of rain. I will prepare the table even though I have no guest. It is not insanity. It is revelation. The world might call you foolish for believing before seeing, but in truth, this is how all things are born. Every invention, every movement, every creation began as an invisible idea in someone's mind. And it only came into form because they acted as if it already existed. They fed it, nurtured it, protected it, and eventually the world adjusted itself to reflect that unseen vision. So why not you? Why not trust your inner knowing more than outer facts? Why not act from the place that says, it is already mine? Because once you begin, once you make the first faithful move, the entire universe begins to respond. The doors you thought were locked begin to open. The people you thought were out of reach begin to appear. The path you couldn't see begins to unfold under your feet, not because you forced it, but because you aligned with it. Do not underestimate the power of one faithful step. It may seem small, it may seem ordinary, but if it is rooted in conviction, it will shake foundations. It will ripple through your life in ways you cannot yet see. It is not your job to understand how. It is your job to trust that your faithful action carries within it the momentum of the universe. Your action is not isolated. It is connected to a greater flow, a higher intelligence, an invisible orchestration that is always working on your behalf. You don't need to see the whole picture. You only need to take the next step with confidence. You don't need to have it all figured out. You only need to act as if it's already working in your favor. And it is. Even now, behind the veil of circumstance, things are moving, shifting, aligning for you. But they are waiting for your signal. And your signal is not more desire, it is aligned action. When you walk in faith, the universe walks with you. When you move as if it is already done, the path clears. Not all at once, but enough for the next move, and the next. And before long, what once seemed impossible becomes inevitable. Because faithful action has a power all its own. It bridges the gap between the invisible and the visible. It calls forth a promise before the performance. And it reminds the universe that you are ready. Not waiting, not hoping, but ready. Are you hopeful? And in that readiness, miracles are made manifest. There is a frequency beneath your actions, a vibration that either repels or invites the life you want. And that frequency is determined not by how much you do, but by how you feel as you do it. This is the secret most people miss. Power is not in the force of your hustle, but in the energy behind your being. The universe responds not to desperation or struggle, but to the quiet certainty of someone who already feels what they desire is true. It is not force that moves the heavens, it is feeling. Because feeling is the bridge between the seen and the unseen, the inner and the outer, the desire and its fulfillment. If you try to manipulate life with your hands while your heart still trembles with fear, you will find the journey long and unyielding. But if you can hold the feeling of the outcome, gently, without doubt, without rush, the outer world will respond in kind. Not through chaos, but through clarity. Not through strain, but through flow. This is the power that is released not in noise, but in stillness. You must feel your way into alignment, not fight your way into results. When you understand that the secret power you carry is activated by the feeling of already being the person you want to become, you stop chasing and start creating. You stop reaching and start allowing. You stop doubting and begin embodying. The power is not waiting to be earned, it is waiting to be accepted. And the way you accept it is by feeling it as if it's already yours. Not in fantasy, but in inner truth. In the language of the spirit, feeling is the only voice the universe understands. It is easy to get trapped in the illusion that more action equals more results. But this is only true when your action is backed by alignment. When your inner world is chaotic and you try to cover it with endless motion, you only multiply the disorder. But when your inner world is calm, when it is full of belief and assurance, even your smallest movement creates massive shifts. Because the outer is always echoing the inner, not the effort, but the essence. You do not need to feel powerful every second of the day. You only need to choose the feeling often enough that it becomes your home. At first, this may feel like pretending. It may feel like lying to yourself, but it is not a lie. It is a remembrance. It is the act of returning to your true state, the one that existed before the world taught you fear, before rejection carved its name into your memory, before failure whispered that you were not enough. You were enough before you proved anything. You were powerful before anyone agreed. You were chosen before you were noticed. And so you must feel from that place even if your environment offers no support. Even if your bank account, your relationships, your health, or your past contradict that feeling. Because the moment you allow yourself to feel the end, you begin to dissolve the middle. The distance between desire and manifestation collapses, the resistance fades, and life moves toward you not because you forced it, but because you became the match for it. Think of a radio. You don't scream at it to play the music you want. You tune the dial. You find the frequency. You adjust yourself until the sound becomes clear. The same is true with the life you want. You don't demand it to appear. You tune your energy. You align your feelings. You feel what it would be like to live in that life now, and suddenly you're living in it, not yet physically perhaps, but spiritually, emotionally, energetically. And that's what matters most. Because once you shift the feeling, the facts begin to follow. Once you live as if you're already whole, the things that match wholeness start to arrive. You don't attract what you're missing, you attract what you are. So become what you seek, not through words but through feeling. Sit with the emotion of having arrived. Let it live in your body. Let it color your perception. Let it become so normal to you that anything less feels strange. This does not mean forcing yourself to feel good all the time. It means choosing the feeling of alignment even when it's uncomfortable. It means practicing the vibration of your vision until it becomes natural. It means trusting that every time you sit in that feeling, even for a moment, you are moving the invisible gears of the universe in your favor. You are creating currents that no one can see, but everyone will eventually feel. Do not wait for the feeling to come after the change. That's not how this works. The change will come after the feeling. You must go first. You must close your eyes and dare to feel rich, to feel loved, to feel successful, to feel healed. And then you must carry that feeling like a sacred flame, guarding it against the winds of doubt. Because your feeling is not just emotion, it is instruction. It is the signal that tells the universe, this is who I am now, bring me everything that agrees with this. If you feel forgotten, the world will forget you. If you feel powerful, the world will remember you. If you feel like a victim, you will see endless reasons to prove it. But if you feel like a victor, if you feel chosen, worthy, alive, then your circumstances will begin to take shape around that identity. This is not philosophy, this is law. This is the invisible mechanism by which the unseen becomes seen, not through logic, not through effort, but through the subtle, undeniable frequency of feeling. You are not here to earn worthiness, you are here to remember it. You are not here to chase success, you are here to feel what success feels like before it ever shows up. And in doing so, you allow it in, you open the door, you make space. Because life is not holding your blessings back. It is only waiting for you to stop contradicting them with your emotions. You cannot feel broken and expect to receive wholeness. You cannot feel lacking and expect abundance, but the moment you feel differently, everything begins to move. Let your imagination lead your emotion, let your emotion lead your energy, let your energy lead your life. And do it not because you're pretending, but because you finally remember the truth. The real power was never in what you could do. It was always in what you dared to feel. When you live from the end, when you carry yourself as though your desire is already fulfilled, you become something that the world cannot ignore. You become the evidence of the unseen. You become the living, breathing reflection of a reality that hasn't yet fully unfolded, but is already set in motion. This is the mystery of creation, that the world does not shape your belief, but your belief shapes the world. The moment you stop needing proof and decide to become the proof, the atmosphere around you shifts. You begin to walk with a different kind of certainty, not the kind that needs validation, but the kind that knows what it knows. And in that knowing, you send out a signal more powerful than any words could express. People feel it before you speak. Circumstances begin to bend before you act. Life rearranges itself because you are no longer negotiating with your desire, you are embodying it. This is the point where most people fall short. They wait for life to give them something to believe in. They wait for success before feeling successful. They wait for love before feeling lovable. They wait for healing before feeling whole. But the law of creation doesn't work that way. It is not reactive, it is responsive. You do not become because of what happens, you become. And then things happen because of it. You become the evidence when you choose to live from the state of having, not from the state of wanting. Wanting is a declaration of absence. It keeps you locked in the energy of lack. But having, feeling as though it's already yours, creates a magnetic force that draws the fulfillment toward you. It's not about pretending. It's not about fooling yourself. It's about aligning so deeply with the truth of your vision that you no longer question its arrival. You don't ask if it will come. You live as though it already has. And in doing so, you become the sign others have been looking for. You become the answer they didn't know they needed. Not because you set out to prove anything, but because you dared to live from a different level of awareness. You are no longer echoing the world's noise. You are transmitting a new signal. One that says, it is possible, it is here, it is real. You must understand this. When you embody your future now, when you let the feeling of fulfillment become your atmosphere, your life starts moving in directions you could never predict. Doors open without effort. People appear without planning. Resources find their way to you because you've stopped repelling them with doubt. You've become a match, and so they come. Not as rewards for hard work, but as reflections of your inner state. There is a sacred responsibility in becoming the evidence. It means you must live above circumstance. You must refuse to be defined by temporary conditions. You must remember, even in moments of confusion, that the truth you carry is more real than what you see. The unseen is not less true. It is more true. It is the root. And when you nurture that root through feeling, through imagination, through assumption, the outer form must follow. Living from the end is not a one-time act. It is a daily devotion, a practice of alignment. You wake up each day and recommit to the truth that what you desire is already yours. You train your thoughts to reflect it. You guide your emotions to match it. You carry your body as though it's already living in the world you've envisioned. This is not delusion, it is design. You are not ignoring reality, you are creating a new one. People will not always understand this. They may call you arrogant, unrealistic, or naive, but that's because they are still waiting. You are no longer waiting, you are becoming. You have chosen to believe not in the seen, but in the substance behind it. And that is a power most people never tap into. But once you do, your life becomes the message. You don't need to explain it. You are it. When you enter a room, you carry the energy of someone who already knows. And that knowing changes the room. It changes conversations. It changes opportunities. Because when you believe in your future so deeply that it becomes your present, the world responds not to your wish, but to your embodiment. You are not asking for anything, you are standing in it. And that kind of energy doesn't beg, it commands, not through force, but through truth. This is why some people succeed seemingly without trying. It's not that they didn't try, it's that their energy did most of the work. They lived from the place of it being done. They didn't chase, they attracted. They didn't push, they aligned. And in that alignment, everything began to flow. You can do the same. You can wake up tomorrow and decide that you are no longer going to act like someone waiting for a miracle. You will be the miracle. You will stop rehearsing your pain, your lack, your fears, and start rehearsing the reality you choose to live in. And the more you practice that feeling, the more natural it becomes, until one day you realize you are no longer acting, you are it. You have become the person who has, not the person who hopes. And from that place, life opens up in ways you never imagined, not because it's trying to reward you, but because it's responding to the new version of you that you dared to believe into existence. You are no longer a seeker. You are no longer a beggar. You are no longer waiting for the light. You are the evidence that the light is already here. The journey is not from wishing to having. It is from wishing to being. And the moment you choose to be, fully and without apology, the world has no choice but to reflect that truth back to you, because that is the law, that is the design, and you were made to live by it. The world you see is only a reflection of the consciousness you hold. Wealth is not a matter of luck, nor is it an accident of birth. It is a state of mind, an acceptance, a knowing. The super rich are not simply those with vast sums of money. They are those who have mastered the art of assuming wealth as their reality. They think differently, and because they think differently, they act differently. They do not chase money, it is drawn to them effortlessly, because they have already accepted it as theirs. Most live in a world of limitations, bound by what they see, hear, and touch. They believe in struggle, in competition, in waiting for the right opportunity. But those who hold wealth in their hands first held it in their minds. They do not see money as something separate from themselves. They are one with it. They move through life with a quiet assurance, knowing that abundance is not something to be earned, but something to be claimed. There is no fear, no hesitation, no doubt. They do not ask if they will succeed. They assume success as an inevitability. They carry themselves with confidence not because of what they have, but because of what they know. They see money as energy, as an extension of their inner world. It flows to them because they are in harmony with its presence. The world tells you to work hard, to sacrifice, to struggle, but those who understand the unseen laws of creation know otherwise. They do not act from a place of need, but from a place of knowing. They make decisions as if they already possess the wealth they desire. They invest, they create, they give, not out of fear of loss, but out of certainty that more will come. They guard their minds, refusing to entertain thoughts of lack. They speak only what they wish to be true. They understand that every word, every thought, every feeling is a seed, and they plant only those that will bear the fruit of abundance. To them, wealth is not an external thing to be acquired and is a state of being, a reflection of their innermost assumptions. The masses believe in effort, the super rich believe in alignment. They know that money is not something they chase, but something they attract by embodying the mindset of wealth. They do not worry about how it will come. They trust in the unseen forces that bring their desires to pass. While others live in the past, lamenting missed opportunities, they dwell only in the end, the certainty of already possessing all they desire. The difference is not in circumstances nor in opportunity, but in consciousness. What you hold in mind, you hold in hand. What you assume to be true will harden into fact. Wealth is not outside of you, it is within. Change the way you see yourself, and the world must conform. Wealth is not an external condition, nor is it a privilege reserved for a select few. It is a state of being, a consciousness that determines how reality unfolds. The super rich do not operate from the same mindset as the masses. They do not see money as a goal to be reached or something to be earned through struggle. Instead, they assume its presence in their lives. They do not wonder if they will become wealthy, they accept it as an inevitability. This is the secret that separates them from those who continue to chase prosperity, never realizing that their pursuit is the very thing keeping it at a distance. Everything begins in the mind. What is held within consciousness must externalize itself in reality. The super rich understand this fundamental truth, whether consciously or unconsciously. They do not dwell on lack, nor do they entertain thoughts of scarcity. They see money as energy, something that flows in direct response to their inner world. Those who struggle financially often believe money is something separate from themselves. something they must work hard to acquire. But those who have mastered wealth see it as an extension of who they are. Just as a river flows effortlessly toward the ocean, so too does money flow toward those who are in alignment with its presence. Most people live in a world dictated by external conditions. They look at their bank accounts, their job titles, their past failures, and allow these things to determine what they believe is possible. But the super rich do not let the outside world dictate their internal reality. They know that what they assume to be true will eventually become their experience. If they desire wealth, they do not wait for evidence before believing it is theirs. They embody the mindset of a wealthy person long before the physical manifestation occurs. They think, feel, and act as though they already possess all that they desire. And because they hold this assumption with unwavering faith, the world around them must conform to their belief. There is no doubt, no hesitation. The wealthy do not approach life from a position of need. They do not chase opportunities or scramble to make ends meet. They move with calm assurance, knowing that what they desire is already on its way to them. When they make financial decisions, they do so from a place of confidence, not fear. They do not hoard money or cling to every dollar out of desperation. Instead, they give freely, they invest boldly, they spend with ease, because they trust in the infinite flow of abundance. Where others see risk, they see certainty. While most people hesitate, afraid to take action, the wealthy act as if success is inevitable. And because they act in alignment with this knowing, their world unfolds accordingly. The power of words and thoughts cannot be underestimated. The super rich are acutely aware of the energy they project through their speech. They do not indulge in conversations about financial struggle or economic downturns. They do not speak words of lack, nor do they complain about money. Instead, they affirm abundance. They speak only of opportunities, of growth, of wealth expanding effortlessly in their lives. They understand that every word spoken is a seed planted in the subconscious mind, and they choose to plant only those that will bear the fruit of prosperity. Those who remain in cycles of financial struggle often do so because they continuously affirm their lack. They speak of bills, of debts, of hardships, and in doing so, they reinforce the very reality they wish to escape. The wealthy, however, speak from a place of having, not wanting. They talk about wealth as if it is already theirs, and by doing so, they call it into existence. Most people believe that hard work alone creates wealth. They are taught from an early age that success requires struggle, that they must sacrifice, that they must compete for limited resources. But the super rich operate by a different set of principles. They do not exhaust themselves chasing money. They align themselves with it. They understand that wealth is not the result of effort alone, but of vibration and belief. They do not rely solely on external actions to create financial success. Instead, they cultivate an internal state of abundance, and the right opportunities, connections, and circumstances naturally follow. The masses fear uncertainty. They hesitate when faced with big decisions, doubting whether things will work in their favor. But the super rich embrace uncertainty with complete trust. They do not worry about how wealth will come. They simply know that it will. They trust in the unseen forces that bring desires to fruition. While others dwell on obstacles, they keep their focus entirely on the end result. They do not get lost in the details of how. They hold the vision of what they want with absolute certainty, and they allow the universe to fill in the gaps. Many live in regret, constantly looking back at missed opportunities, at failures, at things that did not go as planned. But the super rich do not dwell in the past. They understand that reality is fluid, that each moment is an opportunity to realign with the abundance they seek. They do not waste energy lamenting over what could have been. Instead, they remain fully present, fully engaged in the now, knowing that the only thing that matters is the state of consciousness they hold in this moment. The difference between wealth and struggle is not in circumstances. It is not in luck, nor in the economy, nor in background. It is in consciousness. Those who master wealth master their thoughts, their emotions, their assumptions. They do not allow the external world to dictate what they believe is possible. Instead, they choose their reality from within, knowing that what they assume to be true must eventually take form. The world is only a mirror, reflecting back what is held in mind. The secret of the super rich is not in what they do, but in what they believe themselves to be. When you see yourself as wealthy, when you accept abundance as your natural state, when you embody the mindset of the wealthy with absolute conviction, the world must shift to reflect that reality. It is not a matter of if, it is a matter of when. Money is not a separate entity, nor is it something external that must be pursued. It is an extension of consciousness, a direct reflection of the beliefs and assumptions held within. The super rich do not see wealth as something to be gained, earned, or chased. They understand that it is an energetic expression of their inner world, a manifestation of the state of mind they embody. This is why money flows to some with ease, while others struggle endlessly to obtain it. The difference lies not in external circumstances, but in the relationship one holds with wealth at the level of thought and emotion. Most people view money as something that exists outside of them. They believe it is controlled by the economy, by their job, by luck, or by the opportunities presented to them. They see it as a resource that must be fought for, something they either have or do not have. This perception creates a deep sense of separation between themselves and the abundance they desire. They work harder, chase opportunities, stress over finances, all while unknowingly reinforcing the belief that money is elusive, difficult, and out of reach. The super rich operate from an entirely different paradigm. They do not see money as separate from themselves. They see it as something that flows effortlessly toward them because they are in alignment with it. To them, money is an extension of their consciousness, an automatic byproduct of the internal reality they hold. They do not wake up each day questioning whether or not they will have financial success. They do not stress over where the next opportunity will come from. Instead, they move through life with an inner certainty, knowing that wealth is always present, always expanding, always accessible. This is why the super rich do not approach money with fear. They do not hesitate to invest, to spend, to make bold financial decisions because they do not see money as something finite. They understand that it is fluid, always in motion, always responding to their beliefs. Where the average person clings tightly to every dollar, afraid to let it go, the wealthy give freely, invest confidently, and move through financial decisions with ease. They know that what they release returns to them multiplied. They have no fear of loss because they do not operate from a mindset of lack. They do not see money as something they must hold on to, but as something that flows through them and around them, endlessly replenishing itself. The masses often find themselves trapped in cycles of financial struggle, not because they lack opportunities, but because they have unknowingly conditioned themselves to expect scarcity. Their thoughts are filled with worry, doubt, and limitation. They constantly reinforce the idea that money is difficult to acquire, that success requires struggle, that financial freedom is something only a lucky few attain. These thoughts and beliefs create an internal resistance that repels wealth. Even when an opportunity arises, even when money does come, their deep-seated fears and limiting beliefs often cause them to lose it just as quickly. They do not realize that their external reality is only a reflection of what they have accepted within. The super rich understand that the only thing they need to master is their state of being. They do not wait for financial security to feel abundant. They feel abundant first, and the external world conforms to that inner reality. They assume wealth before it physically appears, and because they hold this assumption with complete certainty, the material world has no choice but to reflect it back to them. They do not think about money in terms of if or when. They do not hope for wealth. They assume it as an unshakable truth. This is why they do not waste energy doubting or questioning whether money will come. They do not engage in conversations about financial struggle, nor do they dwell on setbacks or losses. Their focus remains entirely on abundance, expansion, and prosperity. They speak only in terms of growth, of wealth increasing, of financial opportunities multiplying. They do not entertain thoughts that contradict this belief because they understand the power of the mind in shaping reality. They know that what they focus on expands, and so they choose to focus only on that which aligns with the wealth they desire. Money is not something that needs to be chased, it is something that must be accepted. The more one fights for it, the more one affirms its absence. The super rich do not fight for money. They embody the frequency of wealth, and in doing so, they naturally attract financial success without effort or resistance. They are not attached to money itself. They are in harmony with the energy of abundance. Their wealth is not the result of hard labor or strategic planning alone. It is the outcome of a deep, subconscious alignment with financial prosperity. Those who struggle with money often operate from a mindset of need. They make financial decisions based on fear, scarcity, and limitation. They hesitate to invest, they question whether they will have enough, they focus on debts rather than opportunities. Every action they take is rooted in the belief that money is difficult to acquire, and so they continue to experience that difficulty. The super rich, on the other hand, make decisions from a completely different place. They do not act out of fear, they act out of knowing. They do not hesitate to invest in themselves, their ideas, or their businesses because they trust in the infinite nature of wealth. They do not seek security in money because they have already established security in their mindset. This understanding allows them to take bold actions, to step into financial decisions with absolute confidence. They know that the energy they put out is always returned to them, and so they act from a place of abundance rather than limitation. They see every transaction as a confirmation of their wealth, every investment as a multiplier of their prosperity. Where others see risk, they see certainty. While others hesitate, they move forward with unwavering trust. It is not external factors that determine financial success. It is not the economy, the job market, or the opportunities that come and go. It is the internal state of being that dictates everything. Money is not separate from you. It is a reflection of what you hold to be true within yourself. Those who see money as difficult will always struggle. Those who fear loss will always experience scarcity. But those who accept wealth as their natural state will always find themselves in positions of financial abundance. The secret of the super rich is not in what they do, but in how they think. They do not look at their external circumstances for confirmation of their wealth. They decide within themselves that they are wealthy, and the world shapes itself around that belief. They do not allow conditions to dictate their mindset. They allow their mindset to dictate conditions. Every dollar earned, every financial success, every opportunity that unfolds is simply a reflection of what has already been accepted in consciousness. The world is only a mirror, and money is only a response to the thoughts and beliefs held within. The wealthy do not hope for money, nor do they wait for financial stability before feeling abundant. They feel abundant now, they assume prosperity now, and because they live in that state of certainty, the physical world has no choice but to conform. The wealthy do not operate from a place of need or desperation. They move with absolute certainty. This is not arrogance, nor is it mere confidence. It is an unwavering assumption that they are already in possession of what they desire. There is no hesitation, no second guessing, no doubting whether or not wealth will come. It is already theirs. This certainty is what separates them from those who struggle financially. They do not wait for evidence of success to believe in their wealth. They believe first, and the evidence follows. Most people live in a state of reaction. They look at their bank account, their income, their financial situation, and base their beliefs on what they see. If money is scarce, they feel anxious. If money is abundant, they feel secure. They allow external circumstances to dictate their internal state. But the wealthy do not operate this way. They do not wait for their environment to confirm their wealth. They assume it to be true, regardless of what is happening around them. This assumption creates the reality they experience. A person who believes they are wealthy, even before the physical evidence appears, begins to act, think, and feel as a wealthy person would. They carry themselves differently. They make decisions differently. They see opportunities where others see obstacles. This internal shift naturally shapes their external world, leading to the circumstances that match their state of mind. But those who doubt, those who hesitate, those who question whether money will come, only create resistance. Their uncertainty repels the very wealth they seek. The super rich understand that assumption is everything. They assume success before it materializes. They assume abundance before it appears. They do not wait for proof because they know that their inner conviction is the force that shapes reality. Where the average person says, "I will believe it when I see it," the wealthy understand that they will see it only when they first believe it. They know that the mind is the starting point of all wealth, and so they cultivate a state of absolute certainty in their financial success. This is why they move with confidence. They invest boldly, not because they are reckless, but because they do not operate from fear. They start businesses, pursue ideas, and take financial risks, not because they have a guarantee of success, but because they assume success is inevitable. They do not ask, "What if I fail?" They ask, "What if I succeed?" And in that assumption, the reality of success unfolds. Many people hesitate when faced with financial decisions. They overanalyze, they doubt, they second-guess themselves, and in doing so, they create uncertainty in their own minds. They send mixed signals to their subconscious, reinforcing a state of indecision and fear. But the wealthy decide quickly and firmly. When they choose a path, they commit to it fully without hesitation. They know that indecision is a form of self-doubt, and self-doubt weakens the power of assumption. This ability to assume wealth before it appears is what allows the super rich to move forward even in the face of obstacles. Where others see setbacks as signs of failure, they see them as temporary moments in an already successful journey. They do not let challenges shake their belief in their financial destiny. They do not react emotionally to losses, nor do they let fear dictate their actions. They remain steady in their assumption of success, knowing that the external world will always bend to match the certainty they hold within. Those who struggle financially often do the opposite. They allow every setback to confirm their fears. They say, "See, I knew this wouldn't work," reinforcing the assumption that success is difficult or impossible. This mindset traps them in a cycle of lack, where their beliefs create more financial struggles and those struggles reinforce their beliefs. The wealthy break this cycle by refusing to entertain thoughts of failure. They do not accept anything less than abundance, and so abundance becomes their reality. Another key distinction is that the super rich do not dwell on past failures. They do not replay mistakes, regrets, or losses in their minds. They do not waste energy wondering, "What if I had done things differently?" They keep their focus forward, knowing that what truly matters is not what has happened, but what they assume will happen next. Their wealth is not a result of luck or perfect decision-making. It is a result of their ability to remain firm in their assumption of success, regardless of past experiences. This unwavering certainty also extends to their interactions with money itself. They do not look at a temporary loss and assume it means financial struggle. They do not let a slow period in business shake their belief in their wealth. They remain steady, knowing that money is always flowing to them, even when it is not immediately visible. They do not panic when faced with financial uncertainty because to them there is no uncertainty. Wealth is a given, it is already theirs, and so it must appear. The power of assumption is not about wishful thinking. It is not about hoping for wealth while secretly doubting it. It is about embodying the mindset of wealth so completely that it becomes an unshakable truth. Those who struggle financially often spend their time hoping, wishing, or waiting for opportunities. But the wealthy do not hope. They know. They do not wait. They act. And because they assume success with absolute certainty, the world rearranges itself to reflect that assumption. One of the greatest differences between the wealthy and the struggling is how they view financial growth. Those who are not wealthy tend to see financial success as something that happens gradually, something that must be earned over time. They believe that wealth must be built slowly, step by step, through years of hard work and sacrifice. But the super rich do not hold this belief. They understand that money is not bound by time. They know that quantum leaps in financial success can happen instantly, as soon as one fully accepts the reality of wealth. This is why some people go from struggling financially to becoming millionaires in a short span of time. It is not because they worked harder or found some secret strategy. It is because they made a shift in consciousness. They let go of doubt, hesitation, and fear. They fully accepted the reality of their wealth, and in doing so, their external world rearranged itself to reflect that new assumption. Most people underestimate the power of assumption. They think it is merely positive thinking or self-confidence, but it is much deeper than that. Assumption is the force that shapes reality. It is the unseen power that directs the movement of money, opportunities, and success. The wealthy understand this, and so they do not waver. They do not look for external validation before believing in their financial success. They believe first, and the material world conforms to that belief. This is why the wealthy do not engage in conversations of lack. They do not dwell on financial worries or discuss economic downturns with fear. They do not allow negative financial beliefs to take root in their minds. They remain focused on abundance, expansion, and financial growth, knowing that what they assume to be true will always manifest. The key is absolute certainty, not partial belief, not hoping or wishing, but an unshakable inner knowing that wealth is already theirs. This is what allows them to take bold actions without fear. This is what keeps them steady in the face of challenges. This is what creates the reality of financial success before the physical evidence appears. The power of assumption is not limited to money. It applies to every area of life: health, relationships, opportunities. Everything conforms to the beliefs held within. The wealthy have mastered this principle, using it to shape their financial reality with precision. They do not let external conditions dictate their mindset. They dictate their conditions by maintaining an unshakable assumption of abundance. Those who struggle financially can transform their situation instantly, not by working harder, not by waiting for opportunities, but by shifting their assumption. By releasing doubt, by refusing to entertain thoughts of lack, by stepping fully into the mindset of wealth, one can create the financial reality they desire. Wealth is not something to be pursued. It is something to be assumed. And in that assumption, it must appear. Money is not a thing to be chased. It is a force that must be aligned with. The super rich do not spend their lives running after wealth, nor do they exhaust themselves in the endless pursuit of money. Instead, they understand that wealth flows naturally to those who embody a state of abundance. They do not work for money in the way that most people do. They work in alignment with wealth, allowing money to flow effortlessly into their lives. This is the fundamental difference between those who struggle financially and those who experience limitless prosperity. The average person believes that money comes as a result of hard work, sacrifice, and relentless effort. They have been conditioned to think that the only way to achieve financial success is through struggle. They wake up each day with the belief that they must fight for every dollar, that they must push, grind, and hustle just to survive. But in doing so, they reinforce a state of lack. They send out the signal that money is something difficult to obtain, something that requires suffering. And because they assume this to be true, their reality reflects it. The super rich operate from an entirely different paradigm. They do not chase wealth, they magnetize it. They do not view money as something outside of themselves, something they must struggle to acquire. Instead, they recognize that money is a reflection of their inner state. They understand that when they align with the energy of abundance, wealth flows to them naturally. It does not require force, it requires alignment. When someone operates from a state of lack, their actions are fueled by desperation. They take jobs they do not enjoy because they believe they have no other choice. They engage in business deals out of fear rather than inspiration. They make financial decisions based on scarcity rather than vision. And in doing so, they create more struggle. Their external world mirrors their internal state, reinforcing the belief that money is difficult to earn and even harder to keep. But the wealthy do not operate from a place of fear. They do not make decisions based on desperation. They understand that wealth is an extension of their own energy, and so they cultivate a state of certainty and abundance before money even arrives. They do not wait for financial security to feel secure. They feel secure first, and financial security follows. They do not wait for wealth to appear before believing they are rich. They believe it first, and wealth manifests as a result. This is why they do not engage in actions that feel forced or uninspired. They do not take jobs they despise just to pay the bills. They do not chase after money in ways that feel misaligned with their purpose. Instead, they focus on doing what they love, on engaging in activities that expand them, on creating value in ways that feel natural. And because they are aligned with abundance, money flows to them effortlessly. The struggling person believes they must do things they hate in order to make money. They believe they must sacrifice their happiness, their time, their freedom, all for the sake of financial survival. But the wealthy do not hold this belief. They know that money does not come from suffering, it comes from alignment. It comes from stepping into a state where wealth is an inevitable outcome, not something to be chased. This is why those who struggle financially often find themselves working harder and harder, yet never seeming to get ahead. They believe that more effort will lead to more money, but this is not always the case. The truth is, effort without alignment is wasted energy. A person who hustles from a place of fear, who works tirelessly from a state of lack, only creates more struggle. But a person who moves with the energy of abundance, who takes inspired action from a place of certainty, creates wealth with ease. The super rich understand that money is not something to be forced. They do not push or strain to make wealth happen. Instead, they move in harmony with money. They cultivate a mindset where wealth is natural, where abundance is expected, and because they hold this state within, money flows to them in ways that seem effortless to those still trapped in the struggle. This does not mean they do not take action. It does not mean they sit idly waiting for money to appear. But the action they take is different. It is not frantic. It is not desperate. It is not rooted in fear. It is inspired action, action that comes from a place of knowing rather than hoping. They move with confidence, with ease, with the absolute certainty that wealth is already theirs. This is why some people seem to attract money wherever they go. They do not fight for wealth, it follows them. They do not chase opportunities, opportunities seek them out. They do not struggle to earn money, it comes naturally. And it is not because they are lucky. It is not because they were born into privilege. It is because they have mastered the art of financial alignment. Many people believe that if they just work a little harder, if they just push themselves a little more, they will finally achieve financial success. But this is an illusion. Hard work alone does not create wealth. If it did, the hardest working people in the world would be the richest. And yet, that is not the case. The people who make the most money are not always the ones who work the longest hours. They are the ones who have learned to align with the energy of wealth. Money flows to those who do not resist it. Those who believe that money is hard to earn create resistance. Those who believe that financial success requires struggle create barriers. But those who assume wealth with ease, who do not carry fear or doubt around money, allow it to flow freely into their lives. The wealthy do not look at their bank accounts with fear. They do not worry about where money will come from. They trust in the unseen, in the knowing that money is always moving toward them. They do not wake up each morning feeling anxious about finances. They wake up with the expectation of abundance, and that expectation shapes their reality. This is the key. Wealth is not about external actions alone. It is about inner alignment. A person who feels wealthy, truly feels it, will attract wealth. A person who embodies abundance will experience abundance. But a person who carries fear, who doubts, who hesitates, will push wealth away no matter how hard they work. This is why the super rich seem to create money effortlessly. They do not operate from a mindset of struggle. They do not engage in actions that contradict their sense of abundance. They do not chase after money, it comes to them. And it comes because they are aligned with it, because they expect it, because they assume it to be theirs. Anyone can make this shift. Anyone can step into a state of financial alignment. It does not require luck. It does not require privilege. It requires a change in perspective, a shift in energy. It requires letting go of the belief that money must be chased and embracing the knowing that wealth is already present. The moment one stops chasing money, the moment they step into the feeling of already having it, the moment they act from a place of abundance rather than lack, money begins to flow in ways they never imagined. It is not about forcing wealth into existence. It is about becoming the kind of person to whom wealth naturally flows. And in that state, financial success is no longer something distant. It is inevitable. The super rich have an unshakable sense of self-worth, and this is one of the greatest secrets to their financial success. They do not wait for external validation to feel worthy of wealth. They decide within themselves that they are deserving of abundance. They do not question whether they are good enough, smart enough, or lucky enough to be wealthy. They assume their worthiness as an absolute fact, and because they do, the world reflects it back to them in the form of financial prosperity. Most people unconsciously limit their own wealth by holding beliefs that contradict their worthiness. They look at their past failures, their background, their current circumstances, and conclude that they are not meant to be wealthy. They say to themselves, "People like me don't get rich," or "I have to work harder to prove I deserve more money." But the wealthy do not engage in this kind of self-doubt. They do not need to justify their wealth, nor do they feel guilty about having more than others. They do not see money as something they must earn through suffering, but as something that naturally flows to those who are in alignment with it. This deep sense of self-worth allows them to make bold financial decisions without hesitation. They do not second-guess their value when negotiating business deals, setting prices, or pursuing new opportunities. They do not shrink themselves to make others comfortable. They understand that money is drawn to confidence, and confidence comes from a deep belief in one's own worth. When they enter a room, they expect to be heard. When they put forth an idea, they expect it to be received, and because they carry this expectation, the world responds accordingly. Most people, on the other hand, carry a deep fear of being seen as too much, too ambitious, too greedy. They have been conditioned to believe that asking for more is selfish, that wanting wealth means taking from others. These beliefs create invisible barriers to financial success. A person who feels guilty about having money will unconsciously push it away. A person who feels undeserving will sabotage their own financial growth. The mind will always seek to confirm what it already believes to be true. If someone believes they are not worthy of wealth, they will find ways to make sure they never have it, whether they realize it or not. The super rich do not allow guilt or fear to interfere with their financial expansion. They understand that money is simply a tool, a neutral force that responds to energy. They know that being wealthy does not make them better or worse than anyone else. It simply reflects their inner state. They do not apologize for their success, nor do they feel the need to downplay their wealth to avoid making others uncomfortable. They do not lower their prices or undervalue their work to be fair. They understand that undercharging, overworking, or playing small does not serve anyone. Many people struggle financially because they do not believe in their own value. They settle for low-paying jobs, undercharge for their services, or hesitate to ask for a raise because they fear rejection. They believe they must prove their worth before receiving money, when in reality the opposite is true. The wealthy do not wait for permission to claim financial success. They decide they are worthy first, and then money flows to match that belief. This unshakable self-worth is what allows the wealthy to take risks that others avoid. When someone truly believes in their ability to create wealth, they are not afraid of losing money. They understand that wealth is a mindset, not a number in a bank account. If they lose everything today, they trust that they can rebuild it again, because their wealth is not dependent on external circumstances. It is a reflection of their internal state. This is why many self-made millionaires and billionaires have lost and regained fortunes multiple times. They do not attach their self-worth to their current net worth. They know that as long as they remain in alignment with abundance, money will always return. The average person, however, ties their sense of security to their current financial situation. They look at their bank account and allow it to dictate how they feel about themselves. If they have money, they feel confident. If they don't, they feel powerless. But the wealthy do not allow external conditions to define them. They maintain their sense of worth regardless of financial ups and downs. And this inner stability allows them to make bold, fearless financial moves. This deep belief in their own worth also extends to how they handle money. They do not treat money as something scarce, fragile, or difficult to manage. They do not make financial decisions from a place of fear. They spend freely on things that expand them, invest in opportunities that excite them, and give generously without worrying about depletion. They do not hoard money out of fear of loss, nor do they waste it recklessly to prove their wealth. They use money as a tool for growth, for freedom, for expansion, because they trust in their ability to create more. They are never afraid of losing what they have. The struggling person, however, often treats money as something delicate, something that could disappear at any moment. They cling to every dollar out of fear, making decisions that reflect a scarcity mindset. They hesitate to invest in themselves, to take calculated risks, or to spend money on things that would improve their quality of life. They operate from the belief that money is hard to come by, and so they create a reality where it is. The way you see yourself determines the world you walk in. You do not attract wealth by chasing it, you embody it, you become it. Wealth is not an external pursuit, it is a state of being, a consciousness you assume before the evidence appears. Look around at those who live in abundance. They are not concerned with how it will come, for they know it is already theirs. Their confidence is not arrogance but certainty. They have assumed the feeling of wealth so completely that the world must conform. To act as the elite is not to imitate their actions but to understand the foundation upon which they stand. They do not react to the world, they shape it. They do not speak of lack or dwell in limitation. Their words, their thoughts, their very movement through life express the unwavering belief that all things are possible. If something is desired, it is already secured in their imagination. They carry no doubt, for they know that what they assume to be true will solidify into fact. You must align with the frequency of wealth before it is visible. Do not wait for proof follows conviction. If you wish to be wealthy, walk as if you already are, not in pretense, but in the deep, inner knowing that you lack nothing. Speak of prosperity, think in terms of abundance. See yourself moving through life with ease. When a decision is made, make it with the confidence of one who has more than enough. When money is spent, release it with gratitude, knowing it returns multiplied. Scarcity is a construct of the mind, an illusion reinforced by those who believe in limitation. The elite do not entertain such thoughts. They understand that the source of all wealth is unseen. That money is but a shadow cast by a consciousness that assumes abundance. They do not hoard, for they trust the flow. They do not question, for they know the supply is endless. This is the difference between those who have and those who wish to have the certainty of being, the unwavering assumption that what is desired is already possessed. If you wish to act as the wealthy do, you must think as they think. There is no struggle, no desperation, no waiting for signs. You decide, you assume, and the world adjusts. Your inner world is the only reality. What you accept in imagination will be expressed in form. It is not effort but faith, not struggle but belief, not hoping but knowing. Wealth is not something you acquire, it is something you embody. The moment you believe wealth is separate from you, outside of you, something to be earned or fought for, you have already placed yourself in a state of lack. The secret of the elite is not in their strategies, nor in their education, nor in the circumstances of their birth. It is in the way they perceive themselves. They do not see wealth as something they must attain. They see it as something they already possess. Even before the physical evidence appears, they carry the consciousness of abundance. They move with certainty, act with confidence, and expect prosperity to flow effortlessly. It is not arrogance, but an inner knowing that reality will always match their assumption. Look at those who struggle for wealth, who chase money with desperation, who believe that effort alone determines financial success. Their struggle only multiplies, for they have affirmed that wealth is something separate, something that must be pursued. This is why so many work tirelessly yet see little change. They have placed themselves in the position of seeking rather than possessing. The secret is not in striving but in assuming. Assume the state of wealth, and the world will adjust to reflect it. You do not need to know how it will come, only that it will. Those who live in abundance do not concern themselves with the mechanics of manifestation. They trust the unseen forces that move all things into place. There is no greater barrier to wealth than the belief that it is difficult to attain. This belief alone keeps people bound in limitation. The elite have removed this thought entirely from their minds. They expect success. They expect opportunities. They expect money to flow easily. And because they expect it, it does. Their belief is so firm that the external world cannot contradict it. This is why wealth appears to follow them naturally, why money seems to come to them effortlessly. It is not luck, nor is it merely hard work. It is consciousness in action. Consider the way you speak about money. Do you affirm its presence or do you speak of its absence? Every word you speak reinforces a state of being. Those who are wealthy do not speak of financial struggle, even when they experience challenges. They do not say, "I can't afford this." They do not focus on limitations. Instead, they speak in terms of abundance. They say, "I will find a way." They trust that resources will appear because they refuse to entertain lack. The words you use are not just expressions, they are commands to the subconscious mind, shaping the very fabric of your reality. If you continuously affirm lack, you will experience it. If you affirm abundance, it must materialize. Wealth is not about external circumstances, but about inner alignment. There are those born into riches who lose everything, and there are those who start with nothing and rise to great financial heights. What determines this? It is the state of mind they carry. You can take all the wealth in the world and distribute it evenly among every person, and within a term, it will return to those who originally held it. Why? Because wealth is not sustained by money itself, but by the consciousness behind it. Those who are wealthy have an inner blueprint that naturally attracts prosperity. They do not depend on one source of income or one investment. They trust that no matter what happens, money will always flow to them. It is this trust, this unwavering assumption, that makes their wealth inevitable. Many believe they must work harder, do more, struggle more, and only then will they be rewarded. But effort alone does not create wealth. There are those who work long hours, labor tirelessly, and yet never seem to get ahead. Why? Because they have not changed their internal state. The elite understand that action follows belief. They do not work for wealth, they work from wealth. Their efforts are infused with the certainty that success is already theirs. And because they carry this belief, their actions are inspired, effective, and aligned with abundance. It is not about how much you do, but about the consciousness with which you do it. If you want to experience wealth, begin by assuming its presence. Not in the future, not when circumstances improve, but now. Live in the mental state of wealth today, and the outer world will adjust accordingly. Do not wait for evidence. Evidence is a reflection, not a cause. Your bank account does not determine your wealth, your belief does. Your circumstances do not dictate your financial future, your state of mind does. The moment you shift your internal world, the external world must follow. Some may say, but I have debts, I have bills. How can I feel wealthy when my reality shows lack? The answer is simple: reality follows imagination. If you continue to identify with lack, it will persist. If you instead choose to identify with abundance, despite external conditions, those conditions must change. The world is a mirror. It does not create, it reflects. If you wish to change what you see, change what you assume to be true. Observe those who embody wealth. They do not hesitate when opportunities arise. They do not question whether they are worthy of success. They assume they are. They assume that money will always be available. They assume that whatever they need will be provided. And because they assume it, it becomes so. This is not about wishful thinking. It is about a deep, unshakable conviction. The world moves to accommodate the one who knows what is true. You are not separate from wealth. It is not something to be attained. It is something to be expressed from within. Change your perception, and you change your experience. Assume the feeling of financial security now. Walk as if you already possess all that you desire. Let your thoughts be filled with gratitude for the abundance that is already yours. Let your actions reflect the confidence of one who knows that wealth is a natural state. There is no force outside of you withholding prosperity. The only barrier is the belief in separation, the belief that wealth is difficult, rare, or reserved for others. Remove this thought, and you remove all obstacles. The universe responds to the state you occupy. It does not judge, nor does it withhold. It simply reflects. If you wish to see wealth, be wealth. If you wish to receive abundance, assume it is already yours. The moment you claim it in consciousness, the world has no choice but to bring it forth. The way you assume yourself to be is the way the world must reflect you. The law is simple: what you accept as true in your imagination hardens into fact. The wealthy do not wait for evidence before they believe in their abundance. They assume it. They walk with the consciousness of one who already possesses what they desire. They do not entertain doubt, nor do they question whether prosperity is meant for them. They have accepted their wealth long before the world provides confirmation. This is the difference between those who live in abundance and those who remain in lack. It is not about external circumstances or luck. It is about assumption. To assume is to take on the feeling of a thing being true before it has materialized. Most people wait to see results before they believe. But the elite know that belief comes first, and results must follow. They do not need the world to prove their wealth before they act in accordance with it. They already know who they are. The world is merely a mirror, reflecting back to them what they have assumed to be real. If they desire success, they assume themselves to be successful. If they desire prosperity, they assume themselves to be prosperous. And because they are unwavering in this assumption, reality shapes itself to match their conviction. The mistake most people make is allowing external conditions to dictate their internal state. They look at their bank account, at their circumstances, at their past experiences, and they let these things determine what they believe to be true. But those who understand the power of assumption do the opposite. They look within, they decide what they wish to be true, and they persist in that belief regardless of appearances. They know that outer reality lags behind inner conviction, that what they hold firmly in imagination must solidify into form. This is why they are affected by temporary setbacks. They do not react to difficulties, they remain fixed in the knowing that everything is already working in their favor. The person who assumes wealth does not fear loss. They do not chase after money, for they know that abundance is their natural state. They move through life with the certainty that prosperity is always flowing to them. Even when challenges arise, they remain steadfast in their assumption. They do not allow fear or doubt to take root, because they know that reality conforms to their dominant state of being. If they were to entertain thoughts of scarcity, if they were to dwell in fear, they would only manifest more of the same. But because they remain unwavering in their assumption of abundance, their wealth continues to expand. Assumption is not about pretending. It is not about wishful thinking or hoping that something will happen. It is about stepping into the feeling of already being the person you desire to be. The wealthy do not wait to see money in their account before they feel abundant. They feel abundant first, and the money follows. They do not wait for success to believe they are successful. They believe it first, and success manifests effortlessly. This is why their path seems so natural, so effortless. They are not forcing results into existence. They are allowing them to unfold by maintaining the right state of mind. Most people live reactively. They let circumstances dictate their emotions, their thoughts, and their beliefs. They see a temporary lack of money, and they assume that lack is their reality. They see setbacks, and they assume that struggle is their fate. But the elite do not live this way. They take control of their assumptions. They do not allow the world to tell them who they are. They decide who they are. And because they persist in their assumption, the world has no choice but to reflect it. There is no separation between you and what you desire except the belief that you do not already have it. The moment you assume something is true, the universe begins rearranging itself to make it so. The people, the opportunities, the resources, everything needed to bring your assumption into form begins to move. But this only happens when you hold firm in your belief. The moment you allow doubt to enter, the moment you waver in your assumption, you delay the manifestation. The key is persistence. The wealthy do not entertain contrary thoughts. They do not oscillate between belief and disbelief. They assume, and they persist in that assumption until the world conforms. You have seen this in action in your own life. Think of times when you expected something to happen with absolute certainty, and it did. It may have been something small, like knowing you would run into a certain person, or something more significant, like securing an opportunity that seemed unlikely. When you assumed it with conviction, it came to pass. The same principle applies to wealth. When you assume yourself to be abundant, and you refuse to accept any thought to the contrary, abundance must become your reality. It is not a question of if, it is a question of when. The elite do not worry about when or how their wealth will materialize. They know that time is irrelevant to assumption. The moment they accept a truth internally, they consider it done. They do not keep checking for signs. They do not allow impatience to disrupt their state of being. They remain in the feeling of already having what they desire, and they allow reality to catch up. This is why they seem so at ease, so unbothered by things that cause others anxiety. Their belief is unshakable. They know that assumption is the creative force behind all experience. If you wish to embody wealth, you must do the same. Do not wait for the world to prove to you that you are wealthy. Assume it now. Move as one who already possesses all that they desire. Feel the security, the ease, the freedom that wealth brings. Let that feeling saturate your mind and refuse to entertain any thought of limitation. If doubts arise, dismiss them. They have no power unless you accept them. Persist in your assumption, and the world must conform. The mind is the only true reality. Everything you see, everything you experience is a reflection of what you hold in consciousness. The moment you shift your assumption, your entire world shifts with it. The wealthy do not wait for circumstances to change before they feel abundant. They change their inner world, and the outer world follows. This is why they seem to create success effortlessly. They are not reacting to life, they are directing it. There is no effort in assumption. There is no struggle. It is a simple act of knowing. It is the confidence of one who understands that reality is fluid, that what is held firmly in the mind must externalize. The only thing that prevents wealth from manifesting is the belief that it is separate from you. Remove this belief, and you remove all barriers. Assume yourself to be wealthy, and wealth will find you. Assume yourself to be abundant, and abundance will unfold naturally. You are not separate from what you seek. You are the cause of your experience. The world does not dictate your state of being dictates the world. Assume the feeling of already being the person you wish to be, and reality will shift to reflect it. Hold firm in your belief, persist in your assumption, and you will see the truth of these words. Wealth is not something to chase, it is something to claim. Your environment is nothing more than an extension of your inner world. The way you arrange your surroundings, the places you frequent, the objects you interact with daily, all of these are silent affirmations of the life you assume to be yours. Those who live in wealth understand that everything around them must be a reflection of the state they occupy in consciousness. They do not tolerate disorder, neglect, or mediocrity in their surroundings, for they know that such things reinforce a consciousness of lack. Instead, they curate an environment that aligns with their identity of abundance. The outer world is a mirror of the inner state. If you live in an environment that reflects struggle, you are silently affirming struggle as your reality. If you allow chaos, disorder, and neglect in your surroundings, you are feeding the assumption that your life is chaotic and out of control. But if you take control of your space, if you deliberately shape it to reflect prosperity, order, and beauty, you reinforce the assumption that you are one with wealth. The wealthy understand this and they act accordingly. They create spaces that reflect dignity, refinement, and abundance because they know that their surroundings are a direct influence on their subconscious mind. This principle applies to every aspect of life. Look at the way you present yourself to the world, the way you dress, the way you carry yourself, the way you speak. All of these send signals to the mind about who you believe yourself to be. The wealthy do not dress or behave carelessly. They embody the consciousness of success in every detail of their being. They do not dress extravagantly to prove a point, rather they dress in alignment with their self-image. Their clothing is well fitted, their posture is upright, their energy is composed. They do not allow themselves to be sloppy, for they understand that every small action is an affirmation of their inner state. Most people believe that once they have money, they will begin to live like the wealthy. But those who understand the law know that the reverse is true. You must first assume the mindset, habits, and environment of wealth before it can materialize in your reality. The world simply reflects what you hold in consciousness. If you are waiting for wealth before you begin to live in alignment with it, you will be waiting forever. The moment you begin to embody the feeling of abundance in your surroundings, in your actions, and in your presentation, you activate the law. You shift into the state of wealth, and the world must rearrange itself to match your new assumption. Your surroundings should be intentional. This does not mean extravagance or excess, it means order, harmony, and refinement. The wealthy do not live in clutter because clutter is a manifestation of an undisciplined mind. They do not surround themselves with things that bring them down because they understand that everything carries energy. The objects in their space, the places they visit, the people they associate with, all of these are chosen with care. There is no room for anything that does not align with their vision of success. Observe the places you frequent. The restaurants, the cafes, the stores, every environment you immerse yourself in is shaping your consciousness. The wealthy do not spend time in places that reinforce a feeling of lack. They place themselves in environments that exude success, elegance, and abundance. Not because they need validation, but because they understand that the mind absorbs everything around it. If you constantly expose yourself to places that reflect mediocrity, you are conditioning yourself to accept mediocrity as your standard. But if you begin to place yourself in environments of excellence, you are reinforcing the assumption that you belong in that world. This does not mean spending beyond your means or pretending to be something you are not. It means aligning with the essence of wealth in whatever way is available to you. You can begin with small things, keeping your space immaculate, dressing with care, choosing to visit places that inspire you rather than drain you. Each small shift moves you into the consciousness of abundance. Each small action is an affirmation that you are already the person you wish to become. Everything in your life is a reflection of what you assume to be true about yourself. If you live in a space that reflects neglect, If you move through the world without care, you are reinforcing an identity that does not align with wealth. But if you begin to cultivate an environment that mirrors success, if you begin to carry yourself as one who already possesses abundance, your subconscious mind accepts this as reality. And once it is accepted as reality, the world must conform. The wealthy understand that their surroundings shape their thoughts, and their thoughts shape their reality. They do not wait for circumstances to change before they create an environment of abundance. They take control of their surroundings first, knowing that doing so will shift their consciousness. And as their consciousness shifts, so does their external world. This is not about materialism, it is about alignment. It is about recognizing that your environment is a powerful tool in shaping your assumptions. When you walk into a space that reflects success, your mind responds accordingly. You feel a sense of expansion, of possibility. You begin to think differently, to expect more from life. But when you surround yourself with disorder, your mind absorbs that energy as well. It is no coincidence that those who live in wealth take great care in shaping their surroundings. They are not merely decorating a home or choosing fine clothing for appearance's sake. They are reinforcing their identity on a subconscious level. They are ensuring that everything around them is in alignment with their inner state. Aligning your surroundings with your desires is not an act of pretending, it is an act of creation. It is the deliberate shaping of reality from the inside out. When you walk into a space that exudes success, you absorb that energy. When you present yourself as one who is already abundant, you reinforce that truth within. And when this truth is fully accepted, it must materialize in your world. Reality does not shape you, you shape reality. The wealthy understand this, and they use their surroundings as a tool to reinforce their assumptions. They do not wait for success to refine their environment. They refine their environment first, knowing that success will follow. They do not wait for wealth to carry themselves with confidence. They assume the feeling of wealth now, and the world must reflect it. If you desire to live in abundance, do not wait for external circumstances to change. Change your surroundings now. Shape your environment in a way that reflects the life you are stepping into. Surround yourself with order, with refinement, with success. And as you do, your mind will absorb these conditions as truth. Once the mind accepts a new truth, reality has no choice but to conform. The way you think about wealth determines whether you will experience it. Wealth is not something separate from you, not something outside of you to chase, but rather a state of consciousness that you assume. Those who understand this do not see money as something to be pursued, but as something that flows naturally when they align with the state of abundance. They do not dwell on thoughts of scarcity, nor do they allow themselves to feel unworthy of financial success. Instead, they assume that wealth is already theirs, that prosperity is their natural state, and that money is a tool that responds to their inner world. Many people believe that wealth is the result of external actions alone, working harder, seeking opportunities, striving endlessly to accumulate money. But those who truly understand the nature of reality know that wealth is a product of the mind. The outer world is merely a reflection of what is held in consciousness. The wealthy do not chase money. They assume the state of being wealthy. And from this assumption, opportunities arise effortlessly, ideas flow naturally, and resources come into alignment with their belief in abundance. This does not mean inaction. Those who live in wealth take action, but their actions are guided by an inner certainty rather than desperation. They act from a state of confidence, knowing that success is inevitable. They do not operate from a place of fear or lack. They trust in the unseen, in the power of assumption, and in the knowledge that the world must reflect their inner conviction. Look at how the wealthy speak about money. They do not use language that reinforces limitation. They do not say, "I can't afford that," or "money is hard to come by." They do not dwell on thoughts of loss, scarcity, or struggle. Instead, they affirm that money flows to them easily, that abundance is always available, that opportunities are endless. Their words and thoughts are aligned with prosperity, and because of this, their external world reflects it. Most people sabotage their own wealth by holding limiting beliefs about money. They believe that financial success is only for a select few, that making money is difficult, that they must struggle endlessly to achieve prosperity. These beliefs are nothing more than assumptions, and as long as they are held, they will continue to manifest. But the moment a person shifts their consciousness, the moment they assume the state of already being wealthy, the entire world begins to change. The wealthy do not wait for money to show up before they feel abundant. They cultivate the feeling of abundance first. They understand that it is not money that creates wealth, but the state of being that allows money to flow. If you believe that wealth is something outside of you, something that must be obtained through force or struggle, you will continue to experience a reality where money feels out of reach. But if you assume that you are already wealthy, that prosperity is already a part of your experience, the world will rearrange itself to reflect that assumption. This is why those who live in wealth do not worry about money. They trust in the flow of abundance. They do not hold on to money in fear, believing that it will disappear. They circulate it, knowing that it returns to them multiplied. Their relationship with money is one of confidence, ease, and trust. They do not approach it with anxiety or desperation. They do not hoard it in fear of loss. They use it as a tool, understanding that money responds to their state of mind. Look at your own thoughts about wealth. Do you see money as something elusive, something that you must chase? Or do you see it as something that flows naturally, effortlessly in response to your inner state? If you are holding beliefs of struggle, of scarcity, of limitation, you are reinforcing the very reality you wish to escape. But the moment you change your assumption, the moment you begin to think, feel, and act as though wealth is already yours, everything begins to shift. The wealthy understand that money is not a source of security, consciousness is. They do not place their faith in numbers, in a bank account, but in their ability to assume the state of abundance at any moment. They know that if they lost everything today, they could recreate it effortlessly, because wealth is not in external possessions, but in the state of being they carry. Their security is not in money itself, but in the knowledge that they are one with the flow of abundance. This is why those who truly embody wealth are not controlled by money. They do not fear losing it, nor do they allow it to dictate their sense of worth. They see money as an extension of their consciousness, as something that comes and goes in response to their inner world. They understand that as long as they remain in the state of abundance, money must continue to flow to them. They do not chase it. They allow it. The moment you shift your state of consciousness, the moment you stop seeing wealth as something separate from you and begin to assume it as your natural state, everything changes. You no longer approach money with desperation. You no longer make decisions from a place of fear. You move with confidence, knowing that you are already wealthy, knowing that opportunities will continue to arise, knowing that financial success is inevitable. The mistake most people make is that they believe they must first acquire money before they can feel abundant. But the truth is the opposite. You must first feel abundant before money can appear in your reality. You must first assume the consciousness of wealth before it can take form in the world. If you wait for money to show up before you feel prosperous, you will be waiting forever. But if you begin to feel wealthy now, if you begin to act, think, and move through the world as one who is already financially free, money must follow. The wealthy do not seek permission to be prosperous. They do not wait for circumstances to change before they assume the state of success. They decide in the present moment that they are wealthy. They carry themselves with the energy of abundance. They think thoughts that align with prosperity. They act as though money is already theirs. And because they live in this assumption, the world reflects it. You do not need external proof to believe in your wealth. You need only assume the feeling of it now. Feel the ease, the freedom, the security that comes with financial success. Carry that feeling within you and allow the outer world to conform. The mistake is in waiting for external validation before adopting the inner state. But those who understand the law know that the inner state comes first, and the physical world must follow. If you wish to experience wealth, begin by embodying it in your mind. Speak words of prosperity. Think thoughts of abundance. Act as though financial freedom is already yours. Release all thoughts of limitation, all beliefs that wealth is difficult to attain. Assume right now that you are one with the flow of abundance, and let the world shape itself accordingly. This is the secret of the wealthy. They do not hope for wealth. They do not wish for it, chase it, or struggle for it. They assume it. They become it in consciousness first, and once that state is fully embraced, money must flow to them in ways they could never have planned. Wealth is not created by force. It is attracted by assumption. The moment you truly believe you are wealthy, the world will prove you right. Wealth is a mindset long before it is a material reality. Those who live in abundance do not merely act wealthy when they have financial success. They cultivate a way of being that attracts and sustains wealth. They embody confidence, certainty, and an unwavering belief that prosperity is their natural state. This belief is not momentary or fleeting. It is deeply ingrained in how they carry themselves, how they think, and how they move through the world. The wealthy do not merely hope for success, they assume it, and from this assumption everything else follows. The way you present yourself to the world matters because it reflects the internal state you have accepted. If you see yourself as successful, abundant, and worthy of wealth, your actions, words, and energy will align with that belief. You will walk with certainty, speak with authority, and attract opportunities that match the frequency of prosperity. If, however, you see yourself as lacking, struggling, or unworthy of financial freedom, that too will be reflected in your posture, your tone, and the choices you make. The wealthy understand that money responds to confidence. Those who operate from a place of certainty do not hesitate, do not second-guess their value, do not shrink themselves in fear. They move with assurance, knowing that they belong in the spaces they enter, that they are deserving of the best life has to offer, and that the universe is constantly arranging itself in their favor. They do not approach life with doubt or hesitation. They do not lower their expectations or compromise their standards. Instead, they trust fully in their vision, knowing that wealth follows those who are unwavering in their belief. There is a distinct difference between those who struggle financially and those who experience effortless abundance. The former often carry an energy of lack. They worry about money, fear financial instability, and hesitate to make decisions that align with prosperity. They think in terms of scarcity, believing that resources are limited, that success is difficult, that opportunities are rare. This state of being repels wealth, for money does not flow toward uncertainty or fear. It flows toward confidence, certainty, and the assumption of abundance. Those who live in wealth radiate a different energy entirely. They do not approach financial matters with anxiety or desperation. They do not feel the need to chase money or prove their worth. They simply expect success, and because they expect it, it materializes. Their belief in their own value is unwavering, and that belief is reflected in the way they move through life. The way you dress, the way you speak, the way you carry yourself, all signal to the world what you believe about yourself. Those who live in wealth do not wait for external success before adopting the posture of prosperity. They embody it now. They take care of their appearance not out of vanity, but because they understand that how they present themselves is a reflection of their internal state. They dress in a way that aligns with success. They speak with clarity and purpose. They exude an energy of certainty. They are not careless with their words or their presence. They command respect, not because they demand it, but because they expect it. Observe how those who are wealthy navigate the world. They do not slouch in uncertainty. They do not speak in a way that diminishes their value. They do not shrink themselves to make others comfortable. They carry themselves with ease, with confidence, with a quiet assurance that they belong in any room they enter. They do not apologize for their success, nor do they allow others to dictate their worth. They know who they are, and because they know it, the world responds accordingly. Many people believe that they must first acquire wealth before they can embody the energy of success. They think, once I have the money, then I will feel confident. Once I achieve financial freedom, then I will carry myself differently. But this is a misunderstanding of the law. You do not wait for money to appear before you assume the state of wealth. You assume the state now in this moment, and as you embody it, money must follow. The mistake most people make is that they look to their external reality for confirmation of their wealth. If their bank account does not reflect abundance, they feel poor. If they are not yet financially successful, they carry themselves with hesitation. But the truly wealthy understand that external conditions are only a reflection of internal assumptions. They do not wait for the outer world to shift before they claim their wealth. They claim it first, knowing that the world must adjust to match their state of being. If you wish to experience financial success, begin by embodying the energy of wealth now. Walk with confidence, speak with authority, expect opportunities, present yourself in a way that aligns with prosperity. Do not wait for circumstances to change before adopting the posture of success. Assume it now and let the world conform to your assumption. The wealthy do not seek validation from others. They do not need external approval to feel successful. They carry an inner knowing that their worth is not determined by opinions, circumstances, or temporary setbacks. This unshakable confidence is what allows them to take risks, to invest in themselves, to move through life with certainty. They do not operate from fear, but from faith. Faith in themselves, in their vision, in the unseen forces that support their success. There is no need to pretend or to force an image of wealth. True wealth is not about impressing others. It is about embodying a state of ease, certainty, and confidence. It is not about arrogance or extravagance, but about moving through life with the assurance that you are already wealthy. When you believe in your own value, you naturally attract people, opportunities, and resources that align with that belief. Observe your own energy. Do you carry yourself with the confidence of someone who knows they are destined for success? Or do you hesitate, shrink, and second-guess your worth? Do you approach opportunities with certainty, or do you question whether you deserve them? Your external reality will always mirror your inner state. If you wish to experience wealth, you must first assume the consciousness of wealth. The way you move, the way you think, the way you present yourself, all of it shapes your reality. The wealthy understand that success is not about luck or external validation. It is about an internal state that is assumed and sustained. They do not hope for wealth. They do not wait for proof before believing in their prosperity. They claim it now in this moment, and because they do, the world reflects it back to them. You are not separate from wealth. It is not something outside of you that must be chased or acquired. It is a state of being that you can embody at any moment. The choice is always yours, to assume the energy of abundance or to dwell in limitation. The moment you decide, fully and completely, that you are already wealthy, the world will prove you right.